Yeah, you already know Todd Monken is loving this. Todd Monken is loving the dual threat ability that Shedeur Sanders has appeared to add to his game this season. We got to get into it. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated. As always, let's get right into things. So this is courtesy of market.com, and we got video to get into here. It says Shedeur Sanders is still pushing to make the Cleveland Browns QB battle uncomfortable for Deshaun Watson.
Todd Monken said something this week that nobody expected to hear about a rookie quarterback who was supposed to be sitting quietly on a bench. He said the game has changed so much that a guy who 15 years ago would have just been called athletic is now something else entirely. And when you hear who he was talking about, it hits different. Shedeur Sanders. Not the guy people drafted with question marks. Not the guy who fell out of the first round while cameras watched his face in real time. A different version, a sharper version. And the scary part for Cleveland's competition is this might only be the beginning. Let's rewind for a second, because to understand why this moment matters, you have to remember where Shedeur was standing just a few months ago. He came into the league carrying a name that already meant something before he threw a single NFL pass. Deion Sanders' son, Coach Prime's blood. That's a blessing and it's a curse. And anyone who tells you it's just one of those things has never actually watched how this league treats sons of legends. Every throw gets measured against a shadow. Every mistake gets amplified. Every good game gets a yeah, but.
Sanders has been expounded upon. Here in this quote, it says, Todd Monken said, I said this morning that 15 or 20 years ago, they would have said that Shedeur Sanders was athletic. They would have said he could escape. Well, the game's changed so much now he's not a mobile quarterback. No, Sanders is a mobile quarterback. He's not as mobile if we've come to where Lamar Jackson or the quickness that these players have. Their escapability is completely changed from when it was. But you see the work Shedeur Sanders is putting in right here. And Todd.
And then the draft happened. Team after team passed. Analysts filled hours of television debating why. Some said mechanics, some said maturity, some just said the vibes were off. By the time Cleveland finally called his name, it wasn't triumphant, it was almost a punchline. 5th round. A team that already had Deshaun Watson under a massive contract. A team that had just fired a 2-time Coach of the Year because 5 wins wasn't good enough. So picture that seat. You're a rookie. You're not just fighting for reps, you're fighting for relevance on a roster that didn't need you, behind a quarterback the front office was still financially married to. That's the story going in. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because rookie seasons like that usually end quietly. A few garbage time snaps, a highlight reel that never gets made. Instead, Shedeur spent this offseason doing something nobody outside the building was talking about until Todd Monken opened his mouth. Monken, Cleveland's new offensive coordinator, the guy known for turning quarterbacks into problems for opposing defenses, came out and said Shedeur isn't the guy people evaluated last year. He said flat out, this isn't a pocket passer who occasionally scrambles anymore. This is a mobile quarterback. A real one, the kind that extends plays, picks up first downs with his legs, forces defensive coordinators to account for 11 guys instead of 10.
Monken is loving this. You see Shedeur Sanders working on being more mobile, more agile, having more escape ability out the pocket. You see Shedeur Sanders putting in the work right there to be a more dual threat, have more dual threat ability, be able to extend plays, run for first downs, and things like that.
And then the draft happened. Team after team passed. Analysts filled hours of television debating why. Some said mechanics, some said maturity, some just said the vibes were off. By the time Cleveland finally called his name, it wasn't triumphant, it was almost a punchline. 5th round. A team that already had Deshaun Watson under a massive contract. A team that had just fired a 2-time Coach of the Year because 5 wins wasn't good enough. So picture that seat. You're a rookie. You're not just fighting for reps, you're fighting for relevance on a roster that didn't need you, behind a quarterback the front office was still financially married to. That's the story going in. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because rookie seasons like that usually end quietly. A few garbage time snaps, a highlight reel that never gets made. Instead, Shedeur spent this offseason doing something nobody outside the building was talking about until Todd Monken opened his mouth. Monken, Cleveland's new offensive coordinator, the guy known for turning quarterbacks into problems for opposing defenses, came out and said Shedeur isn't the guy people evaluated last year. He said flat out, this isn't a pocket passer who occasionally scrambles anymore. This is a mobile quarterback, a real one, the kind that extends plays, picks up first downs with his legs, forces defensive coordinators to account for 11 guys instead of 10.
You win 5 games, it's a bad season. You won 5 games, was last year, and it wasn't good enough. That's what they told everybody by firing Kevin Stefanski, and they're right. It wasn't good enough. They should have won more games. So you can't do that again. You can't go back to just winning 5 games. Would 8 be cool? 8 would be okay. 7 would be fine. The biggest thing for me is that they need to compete. The Browns need to compete.
If you're new here, hit subscribe because this story is only getting started and you do not want to miss where it goes from here. Now let's talk about what's actually driving those bold expectations inside the building. There's a local radio conversation that's been circulating where analysts broke down what a successful Browns season even looks like this year, and the number that came up wasn't small. 5 wins gets called a failure straight out. 7 is described as fine. 8, borderline good. And anything less than competing, actually competing, not just showing up, gets treated as unacceptable. That's the pressure sitting on this whole coaching staff, and by extension, on whoever ends up under center. Todd Monken was brought in as the guy who fixes what was broken, not eventually, now. And if the offense is still stuck scoring 16 points a game deep into the season, questions are going to come for him just as fast as they came for the coach he replaced. Which brings up a name people forgot until this week, Freddie Kitchens.
From day one, I guess, what I would say.
I guess my first expectation for Todd Monken is to have the Browns more disciplined, and to cut out the bleepy football, as he called it, because we did see a lot of that at times, and it just makes it hard. It's hard to be successful when you're starting off 1st and 15 or 1st and 20 because you did something dumb on first down to get a penalty, or if you have a long 65-yard run.
Remember that season? A head coach who looked overwhelmed in real time? The kind of overwhelmed you could see through the screen before the record even reflected it. Cleveland fans lived through that, and the fear now is quiet but real. Could Todd Monken, a rookie head coach himself, despite years of coordinator experience, fall into that same trap if things go sideways early? The counter-argument, and it's a strong one, is that this front office has changed. Since Andrew Berry took over, the days of one-and-done head coaches have basically disappeared. Whatever else you think about this organization, they've shown patience with the people they hire, as long as the why behind a bad season makes sense. If the offense sputters because the quarterback play is bad, that's one conversation. If it sputters because the players aren't put in position to succeed, that's a very different, much scarier conversation for a first-year head coach. And that's exactly why Shedeur's development matters so much more than a typical backup quarterback story. If this dual threat ability is real, if it shows up on Sundays and not just in off-season reports, it becomes an insurance policy. It becomes a reason for patience. It becomes the difference between panic in November and stability. There's something almost poetic about it. A player who was doubted for being polished but limited, suddenly the one adding an unexpected dimension. A team that fired a coach for being too rigid, suddenly building an offense that thrives on unpredictability. A fan base that spent an entire offseason arguing about a quarterback competition nobody thought would actually happen, now watching it become real in front of them. So where does this go from here? Training camp is going to answer questions no interview can. Every practice rep, every scrimmage snap, every hint from beat reporters standing on the sideline is going to get dissected like it's a Supreme Court case. Deshaun Watson still holds the job on paper, but paper doesn't win football games. Execution does. And right now, the momentum, the buzz, the belief from his own coordinator, all of it is trending toward the guy nobody expected to be part of this conversation at all. Maybe that's the most human part of this entire story. Not the stats, not the contract numbers, not even the wins and losses yet to come. It's the quiet kid who got told he wasn't athletic enough, wasn't polished enough, wasn't worth a real draft slot, going out and adding exactly the thing people said he lacked, without asking anyone's permission to do it. Somewhere in Cleveland right now, a quarterback room is holding its breath. One name has the security, the other has the surprise. And if Shedeur Sanders keeps building on what Todd Monken is already excited about, this might not stay a competition much longer. It might just become a decision.